I'm meeting up with people to go see Mortal Engines, the new film from the co-writers of the Lord of the Rings films, one of them being the director of the Lord of the Rings films. And I am ready. Got my tram ticket. It's a very beautiful tram ticket. Now, if only that tram would show up. It's not showing up. Why is it not showing up? Come on, get here, you stupid tram! You stupid tram, I need you to get here right now! Come on, you stupid tram, get here right now! Still waiting on the stupid tram! The tram's taking too long, so I'm taking a Taxify. It's like an Uber, but cheaper. I am here. I am here. The movie starts in 5 minutes. Or the trailers do, at least. So when I said there would be a whole bunch of people here, I was lying. There's only one person. It's only him. It's only him. Actually, he lied, even though he didn't know he was lying though. So it's not entirely his fault. They gave us coupons for Intersport. I don't even speak sports. I don't even know what a sports is. What's a sports? There's the Bumblebee poster over there. I don't want to see that movie. Fine. It's starting. It's starting. It's starting. It's starting. Wait. Okay.
You think it started?
I don't know. That's what you said. All right, good. All right, so we just got out of Mortal Engines. That was an interesting movie.
It was really bad.
Yeah, he thinks it was really bad. I think it has a lot of problems. There were things I did like about it, but because I think the musical score was very good, but I do think it had a lot of problems.
Essentially Star Wars.
Yeah, like more on that later, but yeah. This is what happens when you're out at 12:40 in the morning and trams only come like every 20 to 30 minutes. Why'd you drag me out here like this?
We're royally screwed.
Yes, we are. Christmas. I don't know if I ever mentioned this to you guys, but I live on the 5th floor of my building, and there's no elevator. So literally every single time I go up to my apartment is up 4 or 5 flights of stairs. I don't know. It should be easy to figure that out, but for some reason my brain just struggles with that. I don't know why. So many stairs. All right, so I'm now back, and I'm doing this review part of the video in my bedroom. Honestly, because the sound is, out of everywhere in my apartment, the sound is the best in here. The audio you're probably gonna notice in this video is very quiet, and that's because I'm having, for some reason, my phone's, because I film every video for this channel on my iPhone. It's the best camera I have. I'm not ashamed of it. For some reason, the internal microphone on the iPhone, both the front and the back, record very quiet now. Like, even at the highest gain, they record very quiet. And they've done so for the past few videos I've made, and it's gotten really bad, and I can't seem to figure out why. And I can't use my H4n for the audio for reasons I've described in the past. So I'm kind of stuck with my iPhone's onboard microphone right now, and it just records very quiet, and I'm not sure why it does that. But I'm gonna try and get it fixed when I go back to the US in about 2 weeks for Christmas. I'm gonna see if I can get it fixed, but right now it's just weird and it's not working, and I've tried Google searching, I've tried researching online to see what the problem might be, but I haven't had any luck. But anyway, you're here to see a review of Mortal Engines, and as you may have seen from me and my classmate Siggy's reactions, this movie has a lot of problems. Okay, so basically the plot of the movie is a post-apocalyptic world. Uh, it's about 1,000 years prior to the events of actually about it takes place about 2,000 years in the future. I think they say it's 2,218. They don't outright say that, but it's implied that that's the date. So it takes place 2,000 years in the future, and according to this movie, in the year 2118, mankind used super advanced weapons to basically destroy the world and wiped out most of mankind. And they're now 1,000 years later in this post-apocalyptic world, and the remnants of mankind are split into two groups. One group lives in permanent settlements, normal cities that don't move and stay put. And then the other group who live in gigantic moving cities. Moving cities that have like big wheels or tractor things, whatever those whatever the wheels that tractors have, like they have those, and they're just moving cities. And the London, which is one of the biggest and most significant of these big moving cities, there's a high-ranking official in that city who has some evil plans, and his evil plans make their way into the lives of our two main characters. And it's kind of hard to say anything more than that without spoiling the movie, and I don't want to spoil the movie. But yeah, like we said as we were coming out of the movie, this has a lot of problems. It has a lot of problems. First of all, the concept. These gigantic moving cities that are on tractor wheels. Of course, when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I thought Howl's Moving Castle. Howl's Moving Castle is quite possibly my favorite animated movie, and I just there's a lot of Howl's Moving Castle-esque imagery in this movie. But once you get past that, the concept of these big moving cities, I can't tell if it's dumb or cleverly creative. I can't tell. And when it comes to Howl's Moving Castle, I don't have that problem because it's an animated movie, and all of Miyazaki's animated films have this fantastical, crazy, out there feel to them. So this crazy-looking moving castle it fits in with the world, and it fits in with the tone of the film. But in this serious live-action fantasy film or dystopian film, whatever you want to call it, these big, gigantic moving cities, at some points they look really cool and they look really, really creative and interesting, and then at other points they just look ridiculous. They're big, gigantic cities moving on gigantic tractor wheels or whatever they're called. Like, that's in some scenes they look really cool and intimidating, and in other scenes they just look stupid. But past that, almost every post-apocalyptic, last remaining remnants of mankind cliche is in this movie. Like, every post-apocalyptic cliche is in this movie. Like, every cliche. Like, there's literally a scene where they are going through a museum, and this museum has, like, all kinds of relics from the ancient world, and there's this one thing that I'm not going to say what it is in this review, but there's this one thing that they confuse for deities. They think that they were gods or idols that we worshipped. And when you actually see in the movie what they are, you will either groan so loudly the entire theater can hear you, or you will slap yourself in the face and facepalm so hard that you'll give yourself a bruise, or possibly hit your temple and die. Or you'll do both. I mean, it's so groan facepalm worthy, this specific thing, that they're like, those are the deities our ancestors worshipped. It's like, so there's the confusing relics from our present, and misinterpreting what they are cliche. There's the weird, disgusting-looking food cliche. There's the big, rich people that want to take over everything, and the poor, struggling people who are just trying to survive cliche. Every post-apocalyptic world cliche that you can think of, that you've seen in a million times in a million other post-apocalyptic world stories, is in this movie. And there's a ton of Hollywood blockbuster cliches in this movie in general. I mean, the two main characters start to form a romance, but the girl doesn't like the guy at first, and she's just pissed off and I'm all bitter and cold and everything. But over the course of the movie, she starts to warm up to him, and they have a romance going. It's like that huge, gigantic. That's one of the biggest cliches in the history of film, and it's in there. The climax is very cliched. There's a lot of stuff with the villain is very predictable. A lot of stuff with where the story is going is very predictable. There's a lot of predictable stuff in this movie, and it's just a very cliched movie, and because it's very cliched, you can often see things coming a mile away. Now, there are certain things in this movie that you don't see coming, or at least I didn't see coming, and I thought were really clever and creative. I thought they were really interesting. And I was like, wow, I did not see that coming. So there were a few things, but for the most part, this movie is very cliche and very predictable. Like, the movie doesn't take a lot of risks. Like, there is a lot of risks you can take with this premise, with this concept of this post-apocalyptic world and these big cities, these big moving cities. There's a lot of things you can do with that, and there's a lot of risks you can take. But this movie really doesn't take any of them, or barely takes any of them. And it's just a very cliched movie. Now, it's my understanding that this movie was based on a book. So I don't know how accurate it is to the book. It's possible the book was more creative. And this movie just Hollywoodized it, which does happen a lot of times with book adaptations. I don't know. But judging this movie as a movie, not knowing anything about the book, if there even is a book, I think there is, but I'm not sure, then it's just a very cliched film. It feels very formulaic. Like, there's very little in this movie that you haven't seen in other movies before. But there are good things about this movie. I think the musical score is the best thing about the movie. The musical score to this film is really, really good. Part of me wanted to immediately come out of the movie and just pull up Spotify and start listening to the soundtrack. Like, the musical score of this movie is very good. The opening sequence, the opening scene of the movie is actually a very exciting and thrilling action scene. Like, I really enjoyed the opening scene. It's very thrilling and exciting. And visually, of course, this movie is stunning. It is a Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh production, so I was hoping to get some of that New Zealand imagery. There is none, everything's CGI. But it's still very good-looking CGI. It's a very pretty movie to look at. So there are good things about this movie, but overall it's very formulaic. There's not much in this movie that you haven't seen before in other movies. The main reason I was interested in seeing this movie was not really because of the premise or the concept or the story or anything, or any attachment I had with this book that I think exists, but I'm not sure. The main reason why I wanted to see this movie is, of course, it was co-written by Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh, who co-wrote the Lord of the Rings films, with Jackson directing. And I, of course, didn't go into this expecting it to be the next Lord of the Rings, because if the Hobbit trilogy tried to be the next Lord of the Rings, it didn't work. Why on earth would this? Like, the Lord of the Rings had 12 hours to build up characters, develop storylines, and pay it all off in an extremely big and satisfying way. The Lord of the Rings had 12 hours to do that. This movie has 2 hours and 8 minutes. And it had to be a much smaller story, so I didn't go into this expecting it to be the next Lord of the Rings, simply because Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh co-wrote this. But I was hoping for more. I was hoping for more out of Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh, and it's disappointing that we did not get more out of it. It's disappointing that this is as formulaic and cliche of a movie as it is. There's something in the climax of this movie, like in the last scenes of this movie, there is something. There are two very big things that happened in the climax of this movie that made me go, I've seen that before. And you'll know what I'm talking about when you see the movie. You're like, oh, so this happens and then this happens. Where have I seen that before? I've seen that before. Then it's like a specific movie. You've seen it before. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. Overall, I would say if you just want a fun movie and you don't really want to take a risk with anything, you just want a fun movie in which you can turn your brain off and enjoy, you'll probably like this. If you're just looking for a movie you can turn your brain off and have some entertainment for 2 hours, you will enjoy this movie because it is a fun movie. But if you are looking for something new and creative that you haven't seen before and were intrigued by the trailers and the filmmakers behind it, you probably will be disappointed because this movie, with the exception of the premise and the idea and the world that this movie takes place in, there isn't much in this movie that you haven't seen before. This movie does not take a lot of risks at all, and that was very disappointing. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think of the new half vlog, half movie review format, and whether or not you guys want me to keep doing it. Because I kind of like the idea. I kind of like taking a movie review and turning it into a little mini vlog. So let me know what you guys think about that. Until then, I should have the Jaws Multi-Prometheus one up very, very, very soon. The copyright claim that I filed a dispute against, the dispute was not approved. The video is still down, so I deleted it, and I'm probably going to re-upload it with that section that got it taken down cut out, which kills me because that's my favorite part of the video. That's like my favorite part of the video, and honestly one of my favorite things I've ever done in any Multi-Prometheus 1 video, and it kills me that I'm having to take it out of this video in order to get it on YouTube. I feel like I'm killing one of my own children. Like, it's just, but I'm gonna get that up very soon. Until then, thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.